let's get started, shall we? So, why don't you start off by telling us what, like, as you were coming out of high school and, you know, like starting to think about what am I going to do? What am I going to be? What kind of, where was your head at that point in life? What were you leaning towards?
Yeah, so coming out of high school, all that I knew was that I was really into typing away on a computer. That's all I knew, right? And so that's a mix of working in, you know, painting and art programs, um, messing around in some of the graphic design programs, and definitely trying to mod some PC games, right? And so some of the ones that I got into, some of the ones that ran on my machine, was like Grand Theft Auto 3, like old school.
Mm-hmm.
At least for me at the time, right? So being able to swap out some of the assets in there was as far as my modding experience went, right?
Right. It's a good place to start, though, right?
Yeah, yeah. You get super far. You get super far with that.
Yeah.
And so whenever you look down those gigantic college catalogs at, hey, what's in the computer field, right? There was at the time for me, it was like computer science, information systems, and computer engineering, right? And those are kind of the three. Okay, hey, those have computer in the title, right? Let me look at those. And I would say I went very traditionally, right? I went to like a state university down the computer engineering path. And some might say, you know, well, basically engineering versus computer science, you know, you can kind of draw the line in the middle to say one is more hardware focused, whereas the other one is more software focused.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah.
And yeah, it took me about 2 years or so in. Yeah, and that, you know, kind of similar to how Full Sail does it, where you're going through a lot of your gen ed stuff and you're going through your foundational physics and calculus courses and getting those out of the way, and very light, you know, breadboarding is a thing I remember.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, man.
Dude, tell me about like plugging these little like roach clip resistors onto like a little plastic thing.
Yep.
Just to get binary ones and zeros, and but that was super helpful, right? Because that kind of incepted the whole idea of logic.
Yes.
Before I ever saw it in code.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. But you know what is that after a few years of that archaic 200, it could be, you know, it's 200, but to me it felt like 3,000 man lecture halls where you have a professor in the front of the room going through slides, and I'm kind of in like the upper deck nosebleeds area trying to follow along. Before I realized, like, all right, this is okay, but it's not really sinking in, right? It led to me a lot of work on my end to figure out what was going on, and having little study groups with some of my peers, and kind of doing double, if not triple, the work just to kind of keep up. At the same time, I started getting into my CS classes, and that was all Java, right? And that I really gravitated towards. That's when I knew I found something that I really liked, right? Like very independently can type a few things in a text file, compile, and see something magical happen on screen, right? Magical for me was seeing like some text or some basic decision making, right? If I enter my name, I get some yes or no, some true or falses, and be able to branch out. You know, those are the foundations for some of the earliest like RPG games, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But feeling super powerful, and then realizing at that point, okay, I'm switching computer engineering and I'm going full time into CS. Around the time I was reading EGM, bonus points to anybody that remembers what that is.
Oh, I 100% know what that is.
Yeah.
There's some in here that were not born when that went away, I believe. So,
literally, Solo Venomous is like, I'm too young.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, so Electronic Gaming Monthly back when, gaming news was written.
Yeah.
Born in 99. Dang. That's amazing.
99 is when I started at Full Sail.
Yes. Yes. Yo. That's amazing. So yeah, I'm flipping through, going through some articles, and at the back was an advertisement for Full Sail. And at this time, I knew of one other school that even had gaming, game programming as a thing.
DigiPen?
And yeah. And for all intents and purposes, for a kid that only kind of knew the East Coast, DigiPen was all the way on the other side of the universe for me, right?
Yep.
And even much more expensive than anything attainable to me, right? Like they have kind of a more traditional 4-year model.
Yeah.
So seeing this, and kind of the stars kind of aligned in a way, because I saw Full Sail in Winter Park, Florida. I had family in Orlando, right? Like most of my family is split between New York City and Orlando. And so I made a phone call, signed up for one of those behind the scenes tours, spoke to my aunt at the time and says, hey, I want to come check out the school. I'm going to hang out and visit the family at the same time. Saw the campus, fell in love. And it's kind of unfair, right? Because when you look at a more modern campus to like an older campus that's been around for however long.
Those traditional universities, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as nice as they are, right? As nice as they are, depending how they spend their tuition, it just didn't compare, for the simple fact that when I would walk into a lab at Full Sail and see the production machines that you see in the videos and in the behind the scenes and the making of like, oh, you're learning on the tools that the pros are working on.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
From the pros.
From the pros, yeah. And this was back in 2004, right? And I've been back to campus a few times, and now you guys have like top of the line QA labs with eye tracking and all that, and VR setups, and I haven't even seen the esports arena.
Yeah.
But
you haven't been to the Fortress yet. Oh man.
The Fortress. That's a fantastic name, man. That's a fantastic name.
As soon as we can, we got to bring you down and have you check it out. As soon as it makes sense, as soon as it's safe to do so.
As soon as life can go a step in the direction of what it used to be, right? I don't think it's ever going to go back to like full normal. I don't know.
I know. I hear you.
There's good and bad to that.
That is true. I mean, I was made to work from home, so I'm not complaining about that part.
Yeah, man. I see. You got it figured out. You got it figured out. Like, you got the whole setup. You're doing double, triple, 4 things at once. Your leisure, your hobby.
That is right.
That's the way to do it.
So then this is what kind of opened the door to Full Sail for you, right? So you were lucky to have family down. You came, you saw everything, and like, how was your family like in town? Like, did you like end up like staying with some of them, or like how did you kind of orchestrate getting down here?
Yeah, so obviously going back home and telling my mom and my father, who were helping me get through college, telling them and be like, hey, I want to transfer. And guess what? None of the credits I've been racking up for 3 years are going to transfer over.
That's a tough conversation.
But, they knew me. They knew the type of man I was, as far as my word and my academic background and my drive. And when I went to them and told them straight up, like, hey, man, I need to make a change. I need to get out of this. This is not working for me. They gave me that chance. They gave me the chance to sink or swim. There's a pretty big change, but you seem pretty adamant about it, because to me it was like, holy cow, I know I want to program, and I could program games, right? Because up until then, all I saw was kind of web applications and front end things on the web. But I knew and ate, slept, and breathed. I don't know if that's the word. I don't know the tense of breathing. But I knew games. Breathe ed. I knew gaming inside and out, right? Like I had been doing this since NES days.
Mm.
And that's what I knew I could do.
Right.
And I already had kind of a core basis for programming. And the good thing is, like, good man Cato was very honest and upfront at the behind the scenes, right? When you're coming in for game development, he's like, yo, you see all this fancy graphical things that you see when you play games? That's not what you're going to be doing. You're going to be living in the code. You're going to be writing code. You're going to be debugging code.
Yeah.
So when he, and that's meant to be upfront and honest, of like kind of separate the ocean.
Yeah. And he's one of the best at that too, especially now. Now that there's like a true game design degree, he's one of those ones like, listen, guys, you got to understand where the differences are, that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Executives like, I wish I had known that. Oh man. So that was music to my ears, right? And went down to my aunt, and she had a spare bedroom to let me crash. I had a bunch of my younger cousins there, and it worked out really well on their end too, because I was the only guy I was kind of the first in my family to go through with college, right? Like go through and
Nice.
pull the degree down and everything. So it was kind of a cool, I was the youngest in my family of like, I don't know, 7, 8 siblings. But being able to kind of
7 or 8 siblings?
All half brothers, half sisters.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
So
I did not know that.
you might see some clones of me, man,
nice.
out there. Yeah. And so it was really cool to be able to play that kind of big brother role, to help them out with their homework and kind of show them like, hey guys, you may not see a lot of other people going down that traditional college route, but I am, and I'm going to follow this through. And they were super supportive, man. It was one of the best days of my life, like that final presentation and having them in the background being all improper and loud and screaming for my project. It was really cool to see that come full circle.
That's awesome.
But that was a huge help, as you know, right? Like not having to pay for rent and a house saved me a bunch of money and made it affordable for what I had at the time, what I could do with my student loans. And yeah, my commute was about anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour from where I was coming from. If we had those like 5-to-1 courses, coming home wasn't that bad, but getting to class was a good hour.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's man. But so I actually lived with my cousin while I was here going to school, and that was,
you had family.
Yeah, I did. He and that was same situation. Like, luckily we even lived in town, so I didn't have to drive very far at all. But that was just like, if it weren't for him, I would not have been able to do it, and I definitely wouldn't be where I am. So like, I totally understand that family feel. Yeah,
man. It makes a huge difference. Just having that like circle to come to, right? Like, class is awesome, and the way the curriculum is set up was really beneficial for me, because when I went traditionally, the biggest shock to me was the amount of free time I had. I had so much free time that it was like, oh man, how do I fill this? Gaming, taking advantage of the campus land, and all types of social extracurricular activities, right? That were not academic.
Right. Did you when you started, was it a bachelor's program yet, or was it still an associate's?
It was. So I started September 2004, and I think that was probably a few months in to the bachelor's when that started getting rolled, because you guys kind of did it like you guys were doing it in a wave, right? Like there was people still going through the associates.
Yeah, they usually teach out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so were you in class with Rusty? Like, did you guys go through together, or did you just get to know each other from being around the school together?
I did not know Rusty
Oh, you
until
didn't?
I got to Midway.
Oh, okay, cool. I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and I was a few classes, probably a month or two, in front of some of my best buds now, like Bulla
Mm-hmm.
and Doug Burton and Josh Hamrick and those guys.
Yeah.
So, but you know, spoiler, they graduated before me.
Gotcha.
Yep. um, yeah. Rusty Semsrott, that's the dude. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we had him on a few weeks ago. I love that dude.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I saw that, like eyes glued, popcorn, trying to work at the same time. It was a really awesome interview.
Nice. Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Angry Spartan. You can go in the archives and check that one out. It was a few weeks old, I think.
Yeah, and actually, I decided I'm going to turn these into podcasts too. So I'm going to start up a podcast and start uploading these, so people can just subscribe and listen to them, on their mobile devices as well. So just know,
I like that.
Just know
I'm
you're
a
going to
big
be on a
fan of
podcast.
podcasts. Oh crap! Okay, so you recording these? You're converting them.
I will convert.
You're like
this one.
retroactively converting them.
Yep.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Kudos, and I'm down to support however I can on that one, because I love podcasts, specifically when I'm walking my little guy throughout those quarantine fields. Just like listening to stuff.
Yeah.
And there's not enough game development podcasts. Like I can count on one hand.
There's not that many. And if there are, they're hard to find, right? So that's,
they are.
That I looked, I look for content like this. Like there's not many streams like this at all either. So that's one of the reasons I want to do this, is like my passion here is to help people that are interested, and mostly people that are either learning to do this or have always wanted to, or just getting started. Right. And that just because, like, you and I both remember what it was like when we graduated and we're like, what are we supposed to do now? Like, like I don't know anybody out there that does this. Like,
not at all.
It was crazy.
Yeah. It's a ghost town, right? Cause like, I mean, I'm happy to jump around if you guys are okay to like Tarantino around the sequence. But it wasn't until GDC where I got to be around other real developers, right? That are not just kind of names on the back of a box or rolling through credits. Be like, oh wow, they're real people and humans, and I can talk to them.
Right. Dude, that's the biggest thing I always try to tell people, is like, we're all just normal people. We just are doing something that people think is cool, right? Like, or that some people, and that you might think is cool. Like, we're still just normal human beings. So like, it's crazy. Like, it's very cool. No, I'm not normal. I guess I did say normal.
No,
I would not call myself normal, but
nah, you are one of those like high functioning dudes that can do like 10 different things at once.
I try.
That's the way to do it.
It was funny the other day. I was thinking about how, like, during this pandemic, I didn't know what was going to happen, right? With like, was I going to have a lot of free time, all that kind of stuff, and then it ended up being like, work ended up being busier than ever because esports didn't stop and education didn't stop. And then I ended up consulting. I'm currently consulting on 2 different design projects, and I'm streaming 4 nights a week. So it's like, I don't have time. Like, what's time?
Consulting is the dream, man. When I hear you and Shank, talk about freelancing and consulting, I'm like, oh, Grant. Yeah, I'm like, that's the dream. You can just kind of drop into a project, turn some knobs, ride with them, kind of steer them out of the dark despair trenches, and then zoom out, jump out, and see the end however many years down the line.
I've done that, but I've also, one of the things I'm doing right now is I'm doing an entire metagame design for a new game that's in pre-production. So like, I'm like legit working.
Okay.
So like, it can be any of those, right? Just depending on the situation and the trust factor and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's good times.
Dude, and you got all that, that breadth of experience, right? Like, you've seen so many design loops and iterations.
Yeah, I'm old. You got it. I'm old. Yeah. So
I didn't mean to put it that way.
No. 20 years though, man. February will be 20 years that I've been doing this. So it's crazy. That's crazy.
That's epic. That's epic. Like, I saw, who is it? B Gamer B Gamer straight up was like starstruck when he first met you. It's a good one.
That always cracks me up because
Oh.
I love, like, I personally like to just be an open and approachable type person. Like I just want to talk to people. I want to get to know you. I want to help you out, whatever. So when I see stuff like that, I'm like, it doesn't compute for me, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
yo, what's up, Will? How you doing, buddy? So yeah, man.
My man.
That's right.
My man.
I'll do the sound effect for you.
There we go.
My man. Yeah.
I've been doing this for as long as B Gamer's been alive. Oh, that's a thing, I guess.
Yeah.
It was funny. There were times where I would teach students that weren't born yet when I got into the industry, and I'm just like, that's a little insane to me. But that's where we're at, right?
Dude.
They're the ones that are going to come and surpass everything we've ever done. So,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to help them get there. That's the goal.
And it's still a young industry, right?
It is. It really is.
Like the craft of game development and game design is still new for me. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, for everyone, right? Like this is an entertainment thing. Like, you know, like we've had books forever. We've had movies forever. You know, like this medium is only what 50 years old, really? Like fully. Like it's only more like 30 to 40 years old. So, I mean, it's just kind of crazy to think about. And the fact that we're still coming up with new genres in games all the time. It's just, you just never know where it's going to go.
And new roles.
Yep.
Right? Like I'm seeing a bunch of new roles now or new specialties.
Yep.
Right? Because I'll always try to, it's funny, I always try to tell people, hey, be as general as you can, or when you find the thing you like and are good at, specialize to the pit, right? Like specialize to the grain.
Yeah. Well, like technical designer didn't exist, you know, a decade ago. Like nobody was a technical designer. So like people did things from that role, but like the first person I know that like had that role was Rusty, and that's because I helped him get it. Like that was like one of the first ones I even knew of where we're like, no, actually this is someone that's a designer at heart who wants to focus on making tools for designers, right? Like that's a valiant thing to do.
Yeah. In fact, when I graduated and I was applying at roles, right? I made that obvious critical mistake where I was actually being picky, right? I was like, hey, I'm only gonna work in New York or I'm gonna work in Orlando, right? Like those are the only two places I'm gonna look for work in. And once I was getting crickets in response to my applications with zero experience, right? All my resume said was, you know, my SGD project, my final project, and probably, I don't know, my AI project or something.
Right.
That's all that was on there, right? Those are the things that I wanted to talk about. B Gamer says, am I from NY? Yes, sir. I'm sorry. I don't know how you identify. I don't mean to be binary like that, but yeah, I'm from New York City. That's like
nice.
First generation American in the family, born and bred over there.
Nice.
And I had to escape, right? Like I was going to college in Stony Brook in Long Island, and you know, going back to that like getting out, going to Full Sail was also an element of like having a circle of friends that wanted to come hang out, and was distracting, right? But in a good way. Realizing that by getting out and going to Full Sail, I was able to kind of focus. And again, that curriculum worked in my favor, right? Those 4 hours of lecture, 4 hours of lab, 1 hour of lunch in between, and then kind of go home, game a little bit, pass out, do it again, really helped coding sink in, right? For me, the type of way that I learn hands-on, that I need that kind of boot camp environment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Solo asked, what's the favorite game you ever worked on?
So of the ones that shipped, because I have a few dear ones that never saw the light of day or are still in development. But of the ones that shipped,
Working on question.
Yeah, no, it's Grand Theft Auto 5 for sure. was a fun one to work on. And we can get into details if they come up, but when I first got to Rockstar, I was working on Red Dead Redemption.
Love that game, man.
Dude,
love that game so much.
It's one of those things. Oh, I got like some landscaping going on outside. I'm sorry if that bothers you. Okay, cool. Damn, this mic is awesome.
It's not yet.
So yeah, Red Dead Redemption was amazing because we were working on it, and the team internally felt like there was something special, but because there was nothing like it before, we had no clue how the world was gonna receive it.
Right. Yeah.
So we were we didn't know, and that's kind of when the best things in life happen, right? Is when you have low expectations, kind of anything above that takes off, you're ecstatic, right?
Right. Yeah.
But that was one type of set of tool set and work environment, and we were the primary studio on that, right? Rockstar San Diego.
Yeah.
So when we shifted to GTA 5, we were the support studio, right? North was handling all the main mission important stuff, you can say.
Yeah.
So we were given kind of the ambient world to fill up and populate with whatever we thought was cool and fun. And so having that kind of secondary vibe, or not having the focus or the eye of Sauron of like, hey, this is the golden path content that everybody's going to see, and it needs to be 100% polished.
Yeah.
Allowed us to really experiment and take advantage of the crazy systems that are running underneath the hood to see what like emergent gameplay would pop up. And as I'm working, I kid you not, we had the how you have the radio in game.
Mm-hmm.
So as the months go on, those assets start coming in little by little. So I'm no longer listening to like my Spotify playlist. I'm listening to like all the in-game radio stations and the crazy conversations that go on as I'm working in the game, right? So I just felt like in the world as I'm working on it.
That's a good idea.
Some of yeah, right. Like there's something to be said for being immersed in the game you're working on so much to a degree where it kind of inspires more design ideas, right?
Definitely.
Creative freedom. It's a thing. How do you handle the canceling on a project? Dan, there's a bunch of questions I see here.
Yeah, we'll get to them. I mean, feel free to answer any of them that you like. I mean, canceling a project is a tough one, and it depends. That really often depends on the situation. Like how much time did we put into it? What was your role on the project, right? Because if it's like my first lead on a project was canceled, and so like that's extra rough, like. So there's those kind of things that matter. I think a lot of it depends on what your role is, how long you were into it, what kind of game it was. Is it something you were excited about or something? There's a lot to that.
Absolutely, Jameson. I mean, I can't even empathize with you because when you're the lead, that's your baby, right? Like a lot of the core gameplay is from your head, right?
Right. Yeah.
Man, yeah, that it's never easy, in any aspect, and I've been through it a few times, and every time it's hurt and sucked, and the studio has recognized it, right? Where they kind of like, I don't know, organized some type of team event before and after, and I kind of been through the spectrum on that, right? Like I don't know if some of the guys at Midway talked about it, but that straight up, then we were pulled into a room. We were pulled into kind of the main meeting hall or main meeting or the lobby of the studio, and the whole team is gathered there, and you have I can't even remember the executive's name come into the studio and make the announcement that thank you for all the work you've done. You guys are amazing, but effective immediately, your project is canceled and you guys are laid off, right? Like,
Oh
just
man.
like, you know, uh, and that was my second project, I think. Yeah, second project ever. But I was surrounded by people that were telling, from like Acclaim, right, in Austin, Texas, that were telling me that this is rare and they actually handled it well. And the fact that we had X amount of months of severance was something that was
Months. That's nice.
that's the same reaction I get, right? I guess like, oh, this is not common, and we should actually be appreciative.
When Oddworld shut down, I got 2 weeks of severance.
Oh,
Yeah.
how
Good times. Good times.
how much development had gone into it?
When Oddworld shut down? Like when
Yeah.
that was when the whole company shut down. Like back,
Okay.
and we'd finished Stranger's Wrath. We
Yeah.
got our shipping bonuses and all that stuff. We were working on another game, and we'd probably put like 9 months or so into it, so we weren't very far. But they're like, "Yo, we're closing the studio, like we're done." And because we were in the middle of, we were going to move up to the Bay Area, and so like we'd all agreed to move. Like some of us had started like getting leases up there and all that kind of stuff, and it was a crazy time. Crazy time indeed.
Imagine. You gotta like completely do a 360. You have all these plans set in stone.
Yeah.
That's exciting too, to get up to California.
That's where I went anyway. I went up to the Bay Area anyway and worked at EA. So that's when I made that move.
So since you had things already in play up there, you went ahead and kind of looked for work up there?
It wasn't that as much as, since I was already looking there, I was into the idea. So I looked, and well, I didn't even really have to look. When we shut down, a bunch of companies came to us. So, but then I kind of narrowed my search to that area. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it worked out pretty well.
So like just a bunch of talent up for grabs at
That's
that
right.
point.
Like when companies find out about that, because like that's the thing about this industry is all studios have good talent generally, right? And we all know that circumstances, when a company shuts down, that generally does not mean that the people that are there are not talented, right? So So other companies should be trying to pick those people up as quickly as they can. So
yeah,
and we were lucky that happened.
That's like a foreclosure, right? You're like, oh, time to get in. The price is right.
That's right. Get in while the getting's good.
I've seen companies really reap the benefits of that. Like, it's funny. I started out at Midway, and then after Rockstar, I ended up at Warner Brothers Games, and they picked up the Mortal Kombat franchise, right? So I think that alone was worth whatever money they invested or paid, and I'm sure they got it cheap when Midway was going bankrupt. But look at that; they're already on like, I don't know, 11, and another great fighter next to it in Injustice.
Nice. How did you adjust being relatively far from family in New York? I mean, you well, luckily you had family in Orlando, but when you went out to, I get Midway's in Texas, right? Like
yes, yeah. So luckily, family in Orlando, and a good sized family, and aunts, cousins, uncles, and my father who lived in Dominican Republic would come visit, right? And then family, and it's, I don't know if you call them snowbirds or whatever, but living in NYC, people look to any excuse to get down to warmer climate when it's winter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was great to have an excuse to come visit John when I was down there.
That's right.
And yeah, so I have a story about migrating to Austin and what that was all like, getting that job. But yeah, to answer Will Fitzgerald's question, it was the Midway crew under Harvey Smith, right? So that's Josh Hamrick, Doug Burton, Chris Chaparro, Danny Bulla, Joe Kincaid, and Rusty. I hope I'm not leaving anyone else out. Andy Boggs.
I think you mentioned everybody I'm aware of, I think.
Yep. Legendary.
It was a legendary crew. It was That was like the big crew that I always heard about that was, shortly after me, that I would always hear about. This was the crew that kind of came out and was kicking ass there and then spread out throughout the industry. So you guys were killing it. Still are. So it's great.
Man, yeah, I heard all those guys, man, and I'm fortunate. A good handful of them are now in Seattle, so they're within arm's reach.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. John, can you say, "Hey, I'm walking over here"? See, I don't even talk like that. That's more like Italian Brooklyn accent.
You said you were in Long Island, right? Is that where?
So like home was like Spanish Harlem area, and that's like the Upper East Side of Manhattan. Long Island was for university.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, but brothers in Brooklyn, and I love all those Oliver Stone movies, man, and but a lot of Italian neighborhoods for sure.
So so you said you had a story about getting to Austin and Midway. What was that about?
Okay, so going back to graduating, like September 06 or something, and then enjoying time and going through the holidays, and then starting my search for real in January, right? Like New Year's resolution, all right, time to get a job, and put this degree to work. And, again, going back to like being picky and only applying to places in New York, of which there were very little.
Yeah.
And in Orlando, of which there were more, but
a few more,
but not interested in a person with no experience, right?
Yeah, right.
And I'll admit my GPA wasn't all that good either, right? But I survived and hung on.
Nice.
And so for whatever reason, Rob Coble, who I owe my foot in this industry to, was the old what do they call him, man? Like career development head.
Yeah.
And
was it career dev or alumni relations? I can't remember what exactly he was in, but
he was Mr. Networking, right? Yep. Like he was like, hey, you send me a resume and I'll make sure it's as good as it can be. And I took him up on that, and so when the time came, sometime around March or April, I want to say, of 2007, by this point, I was able to kind of cross-reference and hear in Rusty's interview and to kind of fill in the blanks there, because what I think was happening was that Harvey Smith and the old crew, right? So it was Kent Hudson, Ricardo Bear, and Jim Stiefelmeyer, right? That was kind of like the executive design team over there. And so as I watched the Rusty interview, I realized that they were already over there making a great name for us. So when they were like, hey, we're trying to finish this game and push it across the finish line, and we have like less than a year left on development, they knew where they can come to get talented help, right, for what they were looking for. And fortunately, I think this was like the second or third round. they would kind of come back.
We need more. Let's go get some more.
We need more of you guys, right? And so they came, and Rob, made it happen. He put my name in the mix, and I showed up. I kid you not, Jameson. I showed up like my nicest dress button-down shirt with a tie and slacks, and like all manicured up, ready to go. Right, like, hey, this is my first interview ever. I'm ready, right? And I walk in there, and I meet Harvey, right? And I unbeknownst to me, he had kind of an aura around him too, right? And Jim, and so I get in there, and I don't know what to expect, right? But I've kind of touched up on all my coding, and they start coming at me with some of the coolest questions you're ever going to hear, right? That are just easy to talk about, at least for me, right? If I was kind of nervous and I had my guard up, they start coming at me like, hey, John, talk to me about Bruce Wayne. Why is Bruce Wayne such a cool character or a relatable character, right? Why is he such a pop icon figure? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I could talk about that, man. I grew up on comic books in the '90s, right? Like, this was like, this is my nerd cred. And other questions like, hey, talk to me about a game that you don't like, and tell me why you don't like it, and tell me how you would improve it, right? Like, just general design thinking, right? Trying to understand how you think. And then classic, like, open-ended Google questions that you'll get, right? Like, hey, if I ask you to find me like 100 butterflies in the field, how would you go about that? And one of my favorite design questions that I use myself when I'm interviewing people is like, hey, design me an elevator system in a skyscraper, right? I love that one. And and so, and before I knew it, it was over. And I walk out of there kind of like what just happened? Like, where am I? What just happened? Kind of like, who was I talking to? And I go call some friends up, call my brother up, tell him how my interview went. General kind of gave it my best shot. We'll see what happens. And I get home, and I get a phone call from an Austin, Texas number. And I look at this number, and I'm like, no, I don't want to talk to anybody from Texas. I don't want to move. I don't want to go to Austin. I don't want to leave my family, leave what I know. And I don't pick up. I let it kind of go to voicemail. It shocked me, bro. I was like, whoa, it's getting too real. I'm not ready, right?
Right.
Then I get an email from Harvey, kind of breaking it down, like, hey, interview went well. We'd love for you to come meet the team and do an on-site. And so I respond to that with like, okay. Actually, I don't think I respond right away. I go talk to my cousins and aunts, and they all tell me the same thing. Like, hey, John, if this is where the work is, you got to take it. And they were all unanimously at the time. Midway was a big AAA publisher,
Right.
and a heck of a start, a heck of a place to get your foot in the door for. And so they kind of snapped me out of it and worked me up to reality. It's like, hey, I don't have the luxury of being picky, right? I got to go where the work is. And they were all super supportive in terms like, hey, we'll come visit you. And, it's not that far, et cetera, et cetera. And, oh yeah, Solo Venomous. Yeah, I got some buddies at Psionics in San Diego. For sure, we can talk about that. But, so I go to I go on site. Again, I'm dressed to the nines, and they all make fun of me. They're like, hey, what are you doing? That's not how we dress around here. You got to be more casual. You got to be more relaxed. They all told me, I was like 23 at the time. They all told me that they thought I was way older. They thought I was in my 30s just by like, I guess how I was dressed.
I love it.
Yeah, they're making fun of me.
That's one of the, I'm really glad you said that, because there's two things about this story that I love so far. One, that because I always told people for years that I would never hire anyone that came to an interview in a tie. And the reason for that is because, like, dude, have you ever worn a tie to work? Ever?
Never.
Like,
never.
That's just not what this industry is, right?
Only on like impersonation days or something like
or
that.
like if you're going to a company party for a holiday party, right? Like, there's dress up occasions, but that's not the vibe of this industry. And it's a quick tell to know if someone is, understanding what kind of work environment they're going to be in, right? So that's always been a thing for me in the past, but I always say that. I don't know if it's actually true, but that's my general thought about that, right?
It's true. It's true. It was like it screams noob, doesn't know what's going on, right? Like, and so that was, I think that worked out for me, because they're like, all right, this guy's clearly a first timer, so let's kind of approach him
right
through that lens.
The other thing you brought up, I love the questions that they asked you about, like the elevator and Bruce Wayne and that kind of stuff, because what I try to get people to understand is, as a designer, what your job is problem solving. That's your job, right?
Mhm.
And thinking about something like when they ask you about how's a character relatable, right? Like the problem is creating relatable characters, right? What being able to dissect what makes something relatable and understanding, right? And then thinking about
Yes.
a system like if you need an elevator system, like you've probably never thought about that before, right?
Not a
But then now
not
you're
not
like, oh, how would I solve that problem, right? Like
yes.
that's what we do. That's what we do all the time, and that's it's so important that those are really good kind of questions to like kind of dig in and see what your thought process is because that's what we care about.
Exactly. And on your feet,
Yep.
right? Like
Yes. Yeah.
games, you're gonna get the craziest things blowing up or not working or half built, and you're up against a deadline, and you just got to make this thing work, and you got to think on your feet, and the clock is ticking, and people want to go home, and you know, for you, despite best intentions, people want, like, do you have a line of people waiting to move forward on something, and they need some type of guidance or direction. So it's a great litmus.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you think on your feet? And what I realized too, going through these interviews time and time again, is it's it's a great test to see your collaborative vibe, right? In the beginning, I felt the pressure of, hey, I got to have all the answers. And anytime I don't have an answer, I have failed. But now, with the experience I have behind me, I love inviting them to help me solve the problem, right? And being able to ask some questions. And then, hey, I can go about it two ways. I want to do it kind of like, uh, I want to have maybe, I don't know, a touch interface, or I want to have a more old school, like tactile buttons on the panel. Which way should I go, right? And then that kind of invites them into the thinking, right? Or as opposed to just a one man show. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Because that's the work environment, right? It's never going to be one guy standing in front being like, okay, here's the answer to your problem, here's the design, execute it. No, it's collaborative, give and take. And it's rarely going to be what you intend it to be,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. And that's
Mhm.
the thing I try to tell people is, while being able to thinking on your feet is a crucial key skill, right? But that doesn't mean you need the solution immediately, right?
Mhm.
Like we can go look up solutions to things. We can collaborate on solutions, right? But you've got to have the ability to do it. Like you can't be someone who's like, I am going to pound at this problem until I solve it and spend 5 days on this thing that you could have talked to someone else and figured out in a few hours, right? And
Yeah.
so a lot of it's knowing about what your limits are and knowing who the right people to talk to are and who to collaborate with and how to do that effectively. So there's so much to it. People skills mean a lot, especially when you're a designer.
Yeah, the soft skills. I think that's something that has worked in my favor. Is I've had a lot of interviews that have gone awry just because, I don't know, over the phone or by taking the test, you don't really get to see that side of a person.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones that I've made it to in person generally have worked out in my favor because uh, you instantly get that kind of personable side, and you can see that um, what I have to offer in a collaborative
Yeah.
environment, right? Like
Yeah.
anytime, I'll tell all you guys, anytime that you can whiteboard, take advantage of it, um, and be as open and honest, and speak through your thought process,
Man.
and that usually goes a long way, especially for
100%.
design.
100%. And that's why I tell people to blog their work too, especially student
Yeah.
projects. Like, show me, like if you're working on something and you can give me daily blog updates about problems you came up with and how you solve them or who you collaborated with, like that gives me a lot of thought into your, a lot of look into your thought process. And that means a lot. So,
that that's a great advice, because these are the type of things that people want to hear from you when you're getting asked for, when you're interviewing for a job. They want to,
yeah.
that, again, writing is one of the best tools, and something that I wish I invested more in when I was in college, right? Like, it comes up at Amazon extensively, right? Anything I want to push forward, I have to eloquently write it out and get that edited and revisited and, I don't know, 10, 20 times before it goes up the next level for like green light.
Yeah. One other thing you just made me think of, and I can't believe I've never thought about this before. I think in interviews, I'm going to start having someone collaborate on a design problem. Like, instead of just seeing how they spin through something on their own, which you also want to see, but I would love to like either work with them on something or like put them into a small group and just see like, one, how do they adapt with working with strangers? How do like there's some interesting stuff that could come out of that. I'm gonna noodle on that now.
Yo, I mean, it's serious because I find some places that don't invest as well, right? Because I think interviewing done right, Amazon does it as good as I've seen, because on our end, we're constantly kind of reviewing and critiquing ourselves to see how we could have made that better and smoother and gotten the data to figure out if the person is going to be a good fit. So that has allowed me to kind of reanalyze what I've seen in the past, is that you can definitely tell when someone comes into an interview, an interviewer comes into an interview, kind of a resume just dropped on his desk. Hey, you're going to be talking to so today or in 30 minutes, right? And they just kind of like, hey, the typical, hey, tell me about a time when you had a problem. How did you solve it, right? Like kind of those.
Yeah.
So I feel like while those are applicable to the types of things you run into on the job, your job, they miss out on what you're actually going to be doing at work, right? Which is collaborating, running ideas off of somebody, and then taking that feedback and criticism and seeing how you handle it.
Yeah.
So I really like the idea of throwing someone like, taking one of your designers and be like, all right, you and him, you're gonna solve this problem. Like, it's like a role playing thing.
Yeah,
right? Like,
absolutely.
Right, here's the problem. You're lead designer, you're QA or something, and the I don't know, the stealth detection system is broken, right? Like, and this is the bugs. How do you solve it, right? Like, I think that'd be I think the candidate would leave that being like, yo, I want to work at this place or not.
Right. Yeah. Like, that dude I collaborated with was an asshole. Like.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I love that good cop, bad cop, man. When you can have two people in there,
yeah,
and one's being kind of harder than the other.
Yep. I love interviewing in pairs. I love it.
I think that's great, man. Especially for design.
Yeah.
Right. I can only speak to design interviews because that's all I've ever done. Which I had no idea or plan to go into design when I left Full Sail, right? In my head, I thought, okay, what can I do right now? What have I done that I'm comfortable in? And it's like, okay, gameplay programming I'm pretty good at, and tools programming I'm pretty good at. Don't come talk to me about no rendering stuff, and don't come talk to me about no networking stuff.
Right.
Everything else I can kind of figure out.
So when you got to Austin, tell us a little bit about what, because you went there, you worked on BlackSite. No, you worked at Midway for BlackSite.
Yep.
And then you went to Arcane. No, wait, those were the same. You went to work with Harvey on BlackSite. Is that right?
Yeah. So I was at Midway for a couple years. It was BlackSite, and then a project that got canceled, and then some time in between looking for work before I ended up at Rockstar in San Diego.
Right. And so what was BlackSite like? Like, because you had a lot of you guys, that was what you were finishing up. You went to help them close. Is that right?
Yeah. So imagine, and I always give a shout out to DJ Jones, because if he hadn't left that role open for me, I don't know if they would have came back to campus to look for me.
Well, and he went to Rockstar when he evacuated that role, right? So there's further connection there. So
yes, the bridges, man. We form bridges.
That's right.
We're like paratroopers. So that allowed that role, and again, they hired me on as a designer. Little did I know that's what I had the skills to do, right? But a little bit of that is, again, being a geek and being super into games and pop culture and comic books and movies, and card games and things like this. and being able to somewhat eloquently speak to them, right, unbeknownst to me, right? Like today, if I talk to 23-year-old John today, I'd be like, yo, you don't know what you're talking about, right?
Right.
But um the programming, okay, so get to Midway, and day one, it's here's Unreal 3 and here's Kismet, our visual scripting language. Reverse engineer what we have, ask questions to the other scripters on the team, right? Again, we're all game designers, but there was definitely a clear separation between level designers or real game designers that live in kind of the paper world, designing systems and maps, and what I consider most of us full sailors to be more systems designers and more scripters.
Yeah, implementers.
Yeah, implementers, right? Like, how can us who have no real experience contribute? And so you tell us what you want to see happen, and we'll figure out a way to make that happen, right? That's what Full Sail was really good at ingraining in us. And yeah, I felt like by then we only had, I think, Unreal 2, right? We got to make a level or in Unreal 2 at it's a class that came after Windows programming. I forget the one it was, but that was the only exposure I had in Unreal at that time. And this was fresh off the back of Gears of War, right? Epic had released Gears of War, and all the studios were madly licensing Unreal. Like, oh man, we can make a game that looks like that using this engine. Sign us up. Here's $1 million, right? Like, we're on it, and it was, as you imagine any technology at that stage, it was very fragile.
Right. Yeah.
It was built to do Gears of War very well, and anything that deviated from that type of game was going to have a hard time and need to be pounded on by very intelligent and brilliant engineers.
Right.
But that was great, because that's the first time I had seen the beauty of all of the programming experience we had at that point, and being able to marry it to this visual scripting node-based spaghetti language called Kismet at the time, right? Like, for anybody out there, it's kind of the very first seeds of Blueprint.
Right.
And even then, it's super abstracted because it was much more high level. And I don't even think you could debug, right? You had to like log out to make sure things were firing.
Oh man. I never used Kismet, but I was familiar with it.
Yeah, I mean, you ain't missing out, man. Blueprint is such a better tool.
Everywhere I've worked, we've had proprietary engines. So like literally everywhere. I've never like in my career worked on like, here's Unreal or here's Unity. Like, I had to learn those on my own on the side. So
how, out of curiosity, the proprietary tools, or do they end up being kind of like similar? Do they have their own in-house scripting language?
Yeah.
Like, is it text-based?
So at Oddworld, it was all C based. So I was, we essentially, awesome. And they built the engine inside of Maya. So like we would go into Maya, we would open the level, and then we would like open a custom built scripting thing that would open up a C file for me to like put a file on. It was essentially a file attached to that object. Right. So,
nice.
And so like if I opened up the, a character or, an NPC, it would have its own script file that I could put conditionals in and all that stuff. So, and then like I also had like each level had a master script where we could go in. I just, built out essentially, here's everything that happens in the level. Here's all the conditionals from other levels, all that kind of stuff. So
awesome.
But then after that, it was all visual scripting, because on Godfather and the Simpsons game, we used Renderware Studio. Well, I guess that technically was technically an engine, but they bought it and we like totally changed it, right? Like it was now just made for those games, but it had a visual scripting tool with it. And then they built one called Neo that they like built from scratch, and it was similar, but it was still kind of its own thing. And then we custom built at Volition a essentially a state machine, the visual state machine that we used for scripting there. And then we moved into our visual scripting engine, which very much was like Blueprint. Like it took a lot from Blueprint. Yeah.
Yeah. Why reinvent the wheel,
Yeah.
right? I like a lot of what I'm hearing though, because my just that layout, just to be able to have some type of visual representation of like, okay, here's what I'm seeing in game.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the setup, or here's the mission actors, and hey, I wanna change the behavior there. I can click on the actor and then see what script is attached to that and modify it.
Yeah.
And then you have the persistent level script in case any like global preferences need to be modified or tweaked for like
exactly
after this condition is satisfied, make the other mission, spawn the other mission or something.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Unreal 3 and Kismet scripting, a whole lot of that, and then so the programming definitely helped there. And we work. What I liked about how Midway was set up, and you can talk to if this is kind of common, is we were set up in a strike team format. So we had a level designer, we had myself, the scripter, then we had our 2 environment artists. We all shared an audio guy and a UI person, and an animation resource. But yeah, that was our strike team or pod format, right? Is that common from what you've seen?
That is my favorite way to work. And it's funny you called it a pod, because a pod is what we called it. Where do we call it a pod? I think we called it a pod at EA. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was like, yeah, man, that is my favorite way to work. I love it.
Dude, right? There's something about like how fast you can move through a scene or a level or an encounter when you have all those other disciplines. Like you could just turn around and be like, hey, look at this, or hey, play this. Oh, I'm stuck here. How can we change this? Oh, the player just walked right past that. What can we, can we change the lighting? Or hey, John, this is right. Like I find that there's awesome QA and feedback and then iteration that happens in that setup that doesn't happen in the the same discipline mashed together working on different areas.
Well, it's also the thing that I love most about that setup is the ownership, because in that scenario, programmers and artists and people that don't normally get as involved in the decision making process are much more involved, and they get to like have their expertise be known immediately, right? So when you're having a conversation, it's like, hey, we need to do this thing. And instead of us having to kind of collaborate and figure out an idea and then present it to other people, we can have experts. We have a group of experts from every area that can pick apart the ideas that we have, that can suggest ideas that are easier to implement, like all that stuff. And there are often times where like a coder will be like, oh, I did something similar to that before. I've already got 70% of the work you're talking about. I can grab that, refactor some stuff, and it'll take us half the time we're even talking about. Like that stuff happened all the time, or in vice versa. That's going to take 3 times as long as you think it will. Right. So like those are really good things, because they're the one on the hook for it. Right. So they get impassioned and emboldened about it.
You're absolutely right, man. That ownership can only really happen in that regards, because when you're isolated in your own corner working on your own thing, you don't see it in context, right? Just like you said, hey, the feature works on my machine, I check it in, and then there's some type of middleman turnaround time that happens before the designer or whoever's working on that picks it up and runs with it, right? And then there's kind of like that delay. But when you guys are all sitting next to each other, that feedback and that ownership, you're right. There was a lot of times where I didn't have to say anything. I'm just playing it and people are watching, and they'll spot something like, oh, that's not supposed to happen that way. Let me go fix that real quick, right? And then come back and turn around. Okay, sync to latest and check and test that out, right? And so there is a magic there, like you said. And I didn't even kind of attribute that to that sense of ownership.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. And that was one of the reasons where at Volition we went to a flat structure for a couple of years, really, was to help build that ownership, right? When you don't have someone above you telling you what to do and you get to own that, that's great, right? Now there were a lot of other problems with that architecture, but but you know, we eventually moved back out of that, but but you learned a lot about that, right? You know, and like that, it was important because of that ownership, and people care about that, and they do better work. Right? People do better work
Yeah.
when you get to when you feel like your ideas are heard and that your expertise is valued, and that you and
Yes.
you're signing up to do the thing that you are confident is going to work.
Yeah, and that's not to say that at different points in development it's not applicable, right? Like I would say when you're prototyping, the pod format works really well,
Oh
right?
yeah,
You can
yep,
really get something amazing put up before you figure out the formula to take into production, right? Then you can kind of go back to the more traditional route,
yeah,
you know.
yep. That's
I don't
true. That's true. Yeah, it's
know.
probably a much better format for earlier in development. Then when you get into closing time, we need to make decisions quickly, right? So
Yeah.
that totally makes sense.
Yeah, and then so um work closely with Rusty, right? Because he was always the jack of all trades, the most familiar with Kismet scripting, and he was working in the back, like as a tech designer, seeing the problems that we were running into on the scripting team,
Mm-hmm.
and working with the engineering resources he had to build tools to make some of these things easier. And I really clicked with him because I love to have those conversations with him, right? Like there's one thing to make gameplay happen on screen, and there's another thing to empower things to happen faster and get to like a real deeper level of polish or fun. And as time went on, by the time we shipped that thing, uh, there was an opportunity to step into a tech design role. And I remember the day, and so this was kind of this. I can talk to the thing about do the job that you see needs to be done,
Mm-hmm.
and you might get that job.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. Yeah.
so I was here in
Uh-huh.
game design world, and on the next project, I was pushed into more of a traditional level design role, of which I'll admit that is my weakness. Right, I just don't have that same acumen. Like I have a buddy that gave me the secret sauce, right? He would be like, yo, if you want to get good at level design, look at these old strategy guides and break them down, right? Because they have like map design and everything.
It's a
And
good
that
idea.
helped, dude. You know, I have them for all my games that I've worked on, right? It's just like easy to use as a portfolio, right? Here's how my whole mission was structured. But I have a huge, profound, deep respect for game designers who are build some of the most amazing kind of layouts and experiences, right? Because that's a skill that I don't have, no matter how hard I've tried. Uh, and at the same time, while living in that world, I was also sharing with the team, right? I'll call them like Kismet crime tech tip of the day or something like that, right? Like I would find something in Kismet that I found the easy way to do or figure it out, and I would email that out to the team. And I kind of did that every day for I want to say a month, um, before I got called into the my lead designer's office, and Rusty was sitting there, and they're like, "Hey, John, we have a tech design spot open. Do you want it?" And noob John, never having been in the situation before, was like, "Yes, absolutely, let's go," right? But not asking any of the important questions, right? Like, what does this change? Is it a promotion? Am
What
I
am I
getting more?
signing up for?
What am I signing up for? Am I getting more money? Am I getting more responsibility? Who's my new boss? Things like that. Um, but I was just super excited, right? I knew that's what I wanted to do, and that allowed me to sit next to Rusty absorb his area of effect and be able to kind of learn and grow in that field, right? Like you said, it didn't exist. It wasn't a real label. Like I went to my HR lady and I'm like, hey, guess what? I have a new role and I want to see my business card say tech designer. And she's like, you're still a game designer. Like nothing has changed. This is not a real role, right?
Oh.
Like it's just a change in responsibility.
She patted you on the head, like.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
Yep. But yeah, this goes back to kind of the thing I thought I would do when I left college, right? I thought I would be a tools programmer. I thought I would be like a gameplay programmer.
Right.
And tech design allows you to walk that line between design and engineering, right? You can speak both languages. You can wear both hats. You be like, hey, I can go build a tool or I can get it pretty far to how it needs to work before having to go pull an engineer to kind of polish it up or fully systematize it. And I can go show other designers how to work with it or implement it and get that feedback and establish that loop on how to make the tool more user-friendly or more generic.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
That
man.
makes sense.
Dude, but I love that role. At some point there, Midway shut down. We all had to go our separate ways. And Rockstar, I had, I believe this was through LinkedIn, right? So this goes back to something that Rob Coble was always preaching. It's like digital hygiene, right? Like, especially that's true now today more than ever, is, your social media is easily a good portion of your resume, right? Or it's just as significant as your resume.
Mm-hmm.
If you have projects up there that have GIFs or movies or whatever on Twitter or on LinkedIn, or you have YouTube videos or you have Twitch streams, right? Like this just puts you ahead of the game whenever somebody's taking a look at you and can see the work you've done, the time you've spent building your brand, refining it. It just puts you ahead of the game, like I just none of this stuff was really in place when I was going through it, at least to my knowledge.
Right.
To me it was just like, all right, LinkedIn, I'll make sure I got my experience up there and my roles, and I think the key things on LinkedIn was like, hey, I had a ship title, right? I had BlackSite Area 51 and I had game design, scripting, tech design on there. And I think those keywords in an SEO search when the recruiter was looking popped me up. And maybe Full Sail, right? I'm gonna say Full Sail has something to do with that. Pops me up, he hits me up and says, hey John, Rockstar looking for game design, are you interested? And I replied as fast as possible to say, heck yes, here's my latest resume. And got me on the phone, did a phone interview, which I vaguely recall, and then I got the on-site. And at the on-site, Jameson, this was a gnarly interview, right? This was gnarly because it was a two-man, it was kind of like lead tech, I think tech director, and then lead scripter, and then their exec producer, and I'm in a room, and I kid you not, man, it was straight up like pseudo coding, basic gameplay stuff, man.
Okay.
Like it's like, hey, you're familiar with the games we make, right? Like take Grand Theft Auto 4, I think had just released that year or something like that, and they're like, hey, if you're on one side of the door and you have something on the other side of the door, how do you figure out what side of the door you're on, right? And so I don't know what felt like after an eternity in my head spinning, I remember the good old dot product and all my vector math and started kind
of that stuff is so far out of my brain.
Dude, tell me not, man. Like, yo, that thing, that's like, you can pop open any game engine or editor and have a formula for that, right? Like, is actor in this position, right, or in this volume,
right? Yes.
and they were making me derive that stuff on the fly. Again,
Oh
going back to like,
no.
hey, how fast are you on your feet? Are you going to ask us if we have this functionality, or are you going to try to figure it out on your own, right? Like, I think everything was fair play, but this was the first thing that I gravitated towards, right? Because I was kind of not too far from college at the time. Um, and yeah, it came to me, and I was, hey, writing out like a while loop, while this is true, check these things, increment, trigger this thing. And they told me, oh, your code is sloppy or whatever after the fact, right? They just
Right.
give me shit about it. But I think I survived, right? I was able to say that I was able to show that I knew the technical requirements for the role.
Okay.
And then the second half of that was lead designer and like lead MP designer. And this was awesome because it was straight up like some criteria, right? Like, hey, this scenario, this weapon, how would you set it up and teach it to the player? And I know Grand Theft Auto design, pretty damn well just because I played the crap out of all of them. That I felt like I like designed the shit out of this encounter, right? To the point where they really didn't have too many questions. And by the end of it, they had to hit me with the question. I think they hit me ultimately with this question that I would have only been able to answer with my experience at Midway, when they were like, okay, John, out of everything you just designed on the board, going from like character dialogue, companion AI, traffic and pathfinding, spawn points, triggers, music hooks, conditions, things like this, mission logic. What do you anticipate having to script? And I walked them through everything, man. I told them everything. I was just like, I expect to have to script every little thing of this mission to make it happen. And they were like,
Heck yeah.
excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent, right? And I think save for like one thing I was able to kind of save me. I don't know. I was like, oh, except kind of the police and the heat. I expect that to be a system that I can just hook into and be like, all right, players wanted now, 5-star, like
Right.
unleash the hounds kind of thing. But that was an awesome interview. And when I got the job, I felt very validated, right? They're like, I knew what I was talking about, and I would be doing the exact work that I spent, the whole day in the room with all these people kind of describing. And that's really what it was. The work was exactly that. Like, we were in a C-based scripting language, much like how it was at EA, and we worked in Maya, right? So Maya was where we at least for Red Dead Redemption, right? Maya was where we handled all the level design
That's
and
exactly what we did at Oddworld. That's crazy.
well, I it's too long ago for me, but if you ask me to put money on it, I want to say that it was a fork of renderware. Like, an early version of that technology was like a renderware fork.
Oh,
I'm
really?
pretty sure.
Oh,
I'm
interesting.
pretty sure.
Huh.
So it would make sense that like our workflows are very similar.
Interesting.
Mm.
So we've got a few questions here. I want to grab a couple of these. Just they're kind of a little aside, but I want to make sure we address some of these. And one of the first ones is, how do you handle criticism at work?
Yeah, that's a good one. I saw you and Rusty talking about this one, and
Yeah.
I meant to sign up. Whenever you do that handling criticism panel. I want to be in there.
All right, that's good. We should do that. Seriously.
Dude, panels for sure. I mean, I think you have the setup for it.
Oh yeah, we
You
can make that
you have
happen.
screen real estate to.
We'll do it, man. We'll put 4 of us in here. We'll put the dogs in the middle. And
Yeah, the refs, the dogs are the refs, right? They're like, wherever they woof, that's the next person up. That's a good one, right? Because that's one that comes with muscle memory, right? Like, it's a muscle you have to develop, at least for me, right? Like, coming in with this imposter syndrome of like, I'm a noob, I don't have any credentials, and I'm surrounded by professionals and people that I respect and admire, have been doing this for a while. I can't show any weakness. I have to defend everything, and I have to show them that I know what I'm talking about, which is the exact wrong mentality to have. But I learned that, right? I learned that as a designer or as anybody making a game that is meant for, actually, you know what? I'll step back, Jameson. I'll say that the first step was learning that I'm making a game not just for myself,
Mm,
but for the masses.
right.
And so
That's a
after
tough lesson to learn early. Yeah.
yes, yeah. So after understanding that, passing off the controller and handing it off right away, which is, at this time was kind of the most like anxiety-inducing, like nail-biting moment, right? Like spending however long, right, days, weeks, months to craft something. And then, okay, hey, it's ready to test now. Let me pass it off. Let me pass off the controller. And then see that person struggle or miss the thing or
Mm-hmm.
die repeatedly or like be frustrated, right? Not understand it is such crucial, valuable feedback. And some people are very verbal, right? Some people are like, this sucks, toss the controller. And other people are much more experienced and eloquent and much more empathetic to be like, hey, here are the things that I liked and worked well. Here are the things that I didn't like and work well, or where can we smooth this out? But ultimately, it's and this is applicable. I've learned this kind of in my marriage too, right? Like, don't let your instincts of defensiveness, right? Don't feel that your work is being attacked, right? That's the first step. They're not attacking your work. They're attacking a feeling or an emotion that they're experiencing that is a part of the game that we don't want anybody in the public to experience or run into, right? We're aligned in a common goal. It just so happens that you're the implementer that's got to make this work, right? So it's all going to come on to you. So acknowledging
Right.
what you signed up for as a designer slash implementer,
Mm-hmm.
that you're going to be the funnel of all this criticism and feedback, right? But all good and all bad. Uh, and we're aligned in attacking the common enemy. So learning that that's part of the job, that everybody's going to be kind of as honest as or frustrated, right? Like if a game pisses you off, right? Like me, I play Bloodborne, and that game frustrates me to no end. All those From Software games, man. But it's part of the design. It's part of what keeps people coming back.
Yeah.
But like understanding the feel and the emotion you want the player to experience, right? And then knowing that you that has to be good, right? That you don't want anybody kind of experiencing things unintentionally, right? And that happens with everything, but it's the nature of the job ultimately
It
in
is.
design or game development.
And the thing that I try to remind people of is a lot of that feedback is subjective, right? Like it's not it's founded in their opinion, right? Now there's a lot of objectivity to it, right? But they're like a lot of times what you talked about, what people are responding to is how they feel about what they see, right?
Yeah.
And then the way they relay that information to you may not be the way that you're ready to receive. So
Yes.
there's like the feedback has to be first of all given properly, which does not happen often enough,
And it's a
unfortunately.
skill.
It is.
It's
It
a
is a
skill.
skill. That's what I mean. Like you have to learn to give it. And I think you learn to give it by learning how to receive it as well. Right. So you kind of learn those things when you're like, I didn't like the way he talked to me just now. I don't like the way that made me feel. You learn I probably shouldn't give other people feedback that way too. Right. So, or at least I hope that's what's happening. And so
Yes.
it ends up being a bit of a like, you're learning from experiencing it, but it's a skill. Like it's a skill on both sides. And until
Yeah.
the receiver and the giver are doing it the right way, that friction and that bad feel is going to be there, right? And
Yeah.
you can't dwell on it. You gotta look in, as with anything with this, any kind of feedback, you've got to dig into what is the piece that they're actually having a problem with.
Yes.
And then first of all, is it something I should fix? Right.
Yeah.
And then if it is, how do I fix it? right? And that's really all it boils down to. You got to remove the emotion as much as you can.
Yeah, remove the emotion. I like what you said there too. That's a critical role we play in design is definitely in the beginning. My knee jerk reaction is like, oh, that's bad, let me remove it.
Right.
And you're absolutely right. There's a step there to figuring out, should I remove it?
Yes.
Is this actually the problem, or is it somewhere else
Is a
in the
symptom
controls?
of the problem. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Absolutely, and that falls on often the designer, right? I I I I would even say too is that those soft skills have generally shown themselves to me in a great director, right? In a great design director, lead designer, creative director. The ones that I look back to and really admire and respect were the ones that had kind of worked that muscle out, that can give really solid, pointed feedback and criticism, right?
Yeah.
Or at least be somewhat gentle about it,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah. Well, when you've learned how it feels to get it, it makes it
mhm.
easier to give it in the right way. Right. So that's why I feel like you learn it that way. So,
Yeah, and it goes up, right? Like as you get experience, you realize that it comes to you because it has come to them that way,
right.
right? So
Yeah.
like lead designer gets it from exec producer gets it from like head publisher guy, and head publisher guy gets it from CEO that wants the game to come out soon, right? So like it's coming
Well,
down, right?
but that also brings up another point in that sometimes the feedback itself isn't coming from someone that understands the situation and the problem, right? All they
Yes.
have is a feeling that they have from something, or a deadline, or like there's these things that they are responding to, and as it goes down the pipe and gets to you, you may not have any idea where the actual real issue came from. All you can
Yes.
do is just respond to what you're hearing and try to do the best you can to improve it. So,
Dude, yeah, you 100%. It makes me think of, and I'm curious if this happens to you, is the form of the feedback, right? Like, there's, as bad as it can be, the live one-on-one feedback with the controller tends to be kind of the best, right? There's the live feedback in a meeting room with your pod, or in a meeting room with all the leads, 10, 20 people. And there's the feedback in an email where there's so much lost to interpretation. Um, there's there's that like spreadsheet feedback, right? Where it's just a line, bug number. It's like, hey, this thing doesn't work, fix it. Uh, and there's all these different forms. And I'm curious what you've seen on your end. Like, is it that crazy? Is it that sparse? Or is it kind of more refined, like some of the later places that you've worked?
I've seen it every way you've talked about. Like, it depends on, like, it's really crazy because I think part of it depends on the size of the organization, right?
Hmm.
Because when you talk about a company like when I was working at EA, where
Yeah,
I was at the world headquarters, right? So it was easier
that's Redwood,
for
right?
what's that?
That's
Redwood.
like Redwood.
Redwood
Yeah.
Shores, yeah. So it
Mhm.
was easy for our CEO to get access to what we were working on, right? And see our latest build. Not that it happened that often, but there were times where like that would happen, and he would, like, people would watch him play or react to something, or he would watch someone else play and react to something. And then that feedback would go through like 8 different people of a game of telephone before it got
Yeah.
to us. And now we're like, wait, this does what? Sometimes we were like, this doesn't make any sense. Sometimes we were like, I don't think this is the right call. Sometimes we're like,
Yeah.
man, what they're asking for is a lot of work. Like
Mhm.
there's just so many different reactions you can have to something, and depending on what point in the project you're in, how much time you have left, what resources you have around you, if it's a fun decision or not. Because when people see things early and they don't have an eye to kind of anticipate where it's heading,
Yeah.
then they can, like, their thought can send you in a different direction. So there's just,
Yeah.
man, there's so much to that stuff. And honestly, the truth is, as you're doing this more, you gain wisdom, right? And
Mhm.
wisdom as a designer is where you start to understand that, you're like what is the element of this that people are responding to? How do I break it down into the piece that's like, this is the thing that people don't like? I don't necessarily have to fix it the way that they say, but I understand why they feel this way. Now it's up to me and my team to decide, is this the thing that how am I going to solve this? Are we going to solve this? Or is there something else coming that helps solve the problem for us? So, or do we just not have time to do anything about it? And we have to live with it. We do that too, right? So
yeah, for sure. I like that, man. Like, take it, sit and process it with your team. And you're right. Maybe there's something in the works already that's going to smooth this out or fix this issue, or at least address it in one way, right? That'll lead to a different feel, hopefully.
Yeah. And you may not even know about it, which is why you need to talk to your team, right? Like something may be coming that you didn't even have insight into.
Dude, yes, you're absolutely right. Going back to that large team problem, and with poor communication, right? Like, it definitely happens in a project that everybody's kind of head down trying to get to this point or deliverable or finish line, and maybe there has to be some producer or some lead that knows the big picture,
right?
But for whatever reason, they're busy, right? And they're not communicating it, or you're not on those emails, or you missed the meeting, or you missed the memo. That's frustrating, man. I mean, I've never seen it. I've never seen it, really well addressed. It's just, I think there's a little bit of a go get it-ness in the person to try to be that ownership, right? To try to be as anywhere they can be to anything that is affects what they own or touch, right? Like talking to people, hey, I want to be in that meeting, and walking by, which I guess is a little bit of the benefit of kind of like the open floor plan, or like those fishbowl design offices, right? Like where everything is glass.
Yep.
So you can usually see like, hey, my lead and my engineer and my artist are over there on the whiteboard. I wonder what they're talking about. I'm gonna go pop in, right? Like, see what's going on, for sure.
Yep, that all happens.
Yeah, dude. Jeez.
So I want to address this question from Solo Venomous real quick, because it is a very complicated answer, and I want us to talk about why it's a complicated answer. The question is, who is the person that gets to say, okay, this game is ready to be put into the world? Is it at a good enough state for the consumer to enjoy? Right. And the first thing I want to say to that really quick is, a game is never finished. We just ship it. Right. Like
it's just abandoned.
That's right. That is right. That is always the case. That, especially now, right, where we can add DLC to it later. We can hot patch. We can do all that stuff, right? A game is never done. And even back in the day when you had to put it on a disc and there was no hope of actually updating the game, there was 1,000 things you wanted to do to that, but you just couldn't do it, right?
Yep.
So who is the person? Who's the person that gets to decide that? And I love the look on your face, because it is a super complicated answer, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think you've had more visibility at this level, like even with my experience, I honestly admit I've never sat in on any of those meetings, Jameson. Like I'm always kind of receiving the information, or I'm lucky if I'm like 1 degree separated from like, hey, any information you got to help us kind of push back on this deadline, now's the time to put it out there, right? Or I've definitely written like long-winded emails trying to plead a case, but I've never been in on those meetings, right? Like I've definitely been on the, hey, this is our launch date,
right?
And then, hey, our launch date now is like 6 months later or 1 year later.
Mm-hmm. And that's the key point, right? Like that's where the decision starts to be made, right? Is because when you make a date, you've now, and this is what people don't understand. When you've announced a date, you have now told your shareholders, if you're a public company, when you're going to start bringing in profits to your project. Okay.
Yeah.
So now you are essentially you have affected the profitability and the income of an entire corporation based on a decision that you've made by a date. So when you're at a big company, that means now that is now our goal. Our goal is to ship on that date. And we don't always ship on that date, but that's where we're trying to get to, right? Yep. So now it becomes a backward spiral from there where we're like, okay, here's how much time we got left. And you have to work backwards, right? Because you need time for certification. You need time for, actual, like, we're done with content. We need to bug fix this. We need to make sure everything is working properly, all that kind of stuff, and you work backwards from that point. And then you're like, oh no, that thing that I need to get done means I've got like 3 weeks to do it. And it should take me a month. What does that mean? Right? Yeah. Do I get help? Do I scope? Do I, and that's where those conversations start. So it's less of one person rubber stamping it and more of us all being like, oh my God, we're all heading toward this date. And now we're constantly making adjustments and looking at quality and making sure that all these things we're doing are filtering toward us finishing at the date that we need to finish in order to put it out at that release date. And that's why bugs change at that last 6 months. The criteria of bugs change frequently. This bug that was a B bug, next month, now it's a C bug. Next month, now it's a D bug, right? Like now it's a known shippable. Like, because you got to ship, you got to.
Yeah, it's definitely true. It's like that date comes, and even to now, right? Like I've tend to kind of see a pattern emerge of like, if you're a big publisher, you look at the calendar, and they're usually around kind of quarterly reviews or announcements, and there needs to be a game coming out at or around this time. I'm fortunate enough to be able to say that I think most of the places I've worked at have gotten away from the, hey, we have to ship by Christmas for like end of year profits or whatever, right? Like now it's a bit more spread out from what I've seen generally. And even publishers, right? Publishers kind of pad out some of the things, but once that date is announced, you're absolutely right. Like there's this newfound focus that is thrown down on the team, and even if you're not with it in the beginning, you quickly start to see how things roll, right? Like you're seeing producers change the severity of bugs or the class of bugs. Things are being scoped, aka cut completely, right? Like something that you felt is good enough. People have seen that the time it's going to take to get that from good enough to like shippable is going to be too long. We just got to flat out remove it so that these other places that we know are awesome and fun, usually aka the first 30% of the game, right? Like those need to get more love.
Yes. Yeah, that's I didn't even think about mentioning that, right? Like the first the things everybody's going to experience right away has got to be as polished as possible, right?
Yep.
Like you got to get people, you got to hook them, you got to get them in there, help them understand what your game is, and make them want to play it more. Because then the further you get, the more you're like, you'll let things slide off, like that seems a little bit broken, whatever. I'm still enjoying the experience, right? But if you see that stuff right away, that'll turn you off to it, man. Turn you off.
Yeah, especially in this day and age, man, where I like that I'm talking about in the times where like nothing was free to play. Right now you have so many free play options. You're like, I'm gonna just go pop in Warzone or Fortnite or something like that, right? Like, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, and it's such a different landscape than what we started in. We've seen the Renaissance, man. The
Renaissance of games. Yeah, this is insane. Where people are making money different ways. Like Fortnite, what shipped was a completely different game than what it is today.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, and even like I was in the alpha for the whatever they called the building in tower defense mode. I can't even remember what it's called now, but like that was what the game was gonna be, right? It was like build a fort, save the world. That's right, thank you. And like that's what I tried out originally. I was like, this is cool. Like this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be neat. Like the whole world you can build and whatever. Man, did they pivot at the right time in the right way?
Yeah.
Like that sometimes that's what you got to do, man.
Yeah, I mean, like having the investing in your tools so that you can make these changes as quick as possible and upload and patch, right, are gonna serve you well in any development capacity.
Yeah, and even more importantly, getting everybody on board, right? Like getting people to understand the importance of that kind of change, and because like getting people to like totally change gears in the project you're making is a very difficult task.
Yeah, absolutely. People are super invested, right,
Yeah,
in kind of all the decisions they've made and what they've
absolutely.
poured their heart and sweat into. I'm curious, right? Like when you see something succeed that well, does it just kind of like wash away the salt of like losing whatever you love?
It has to, right? Like if it doesn't, then you're not like you got your eye in the wrong place. And that's
Yep.
what we always talk about as designers is like you got to be able to kill your babies, right? Like you got to not
Yeah.
get attached to an idea that you have if that idea is no longer the right idea for the game. And too many times, especially I see it with students coming through all the time, is like this is the thing that is important about the game that I'm making, and I'm like, it might have been, or actually it may have never really been, but you felt that way about it. But this is the game you're making. This is the time you have. This is what you can accomplish. This is going to be fun. You've got to pivot. You got to refocus.
Yeah. Be flexible.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Bruce Lee, be water, man. Because
That's right.
absolutely, absolutely. And again, I will admit wholeheartedly that I had to learn this after a good amount of time. It didn't come to me right away, but you're absolutely right. Like an experienced developer learns to not get too attached and learns that choices and designs are a dime a dozen, right?
Mhm.
Executing and getting to the fun and finding that
Yeah.
is an iteration that has to happen, and you have to rock with it. You have to ride it out because this always leads to a better game, always leads to a better experience, always leads to something more mass market, has more appeal with the masses. I've seen,
Yeah.
right? I don't want to be too generic,
No, I'm
but
with you, man. So, how would you feel about coming back on in a couple weeks so that we can dig deeper into some of the stuff that we didn't even get to touch on?
I see Bugatti Boy is Bugatti Boy is a fan.
I hear that you're coming back on. So that
Dude, I was actually gonna try to like, put you in a submission chokehold or something to wager to get me back on here, send me another invite. But I'd be super happy to come back, Jameson, for
Sweet,
real,
man.
man. I'd be super happy. Like if people want to know more and I have something to offer, I want to do it. I want to be an open book to help share my experiences to benefit your stream monsters, man, for sure.
Awesome. So we'll find some time next month because, like, seriously, we barely scratched your time at your actual companies, right? And people really want to know, like, what was it like that first day at work? What was what was it like, getting used to working with these people? What was it like when your
Yeah.
project was cut and then you had to look for work? And like and we haven't talked about Amazon at all, right?
Dude,
So like,
that's my bad. That's my bad for like
no. I'm not complaining. I'm saying like we've had a lot of great stuff, and I want to make sure we get a chance to, because like I don't want us to sit here all night. Like I want to make sure we get a chance to like
Sure.
get
Spread out
comfortable,
the
dig into
love.
some more stuff, and I think it'll be really good.
Absolutely, you're right, man. I haven't even gotten to like push SoCal or Montreal
That's
or any
right.
of those other fantastic cities.
Oh man, I
Yeah.
forgot about Montreal. That man, yeah, we got so much to talk about.
Montreal, Montreal. Yes, sir. Okay, I'm gonna get out of here then.
Yeah, no, that's good. All right, before you go, and we've got some questions in the chat. These are all good questions. We will get to them next time.
Okay.
But I want you to answer. Like people are like they want to subscribe. They want to get the John Diaz expansion. So, like, but I do like to ask this one question before we go, and that is,
Okay.
what is your single piece of advice that you would give somebody looking for their first job in the industry?
Okay. I may have written something down in preparation for this.
Oh snap!
Let me scroll through my notes. Okay. So maybe there's a two-parter,
Okay.
and I hope that if you missed earlier when we were talking about it, is go where the work is, right?
Yes. Yes.
So in the beginning, you don't have the luxury unless you are the ace programmer that can see the assembly behind the code. You go where the work is, man. Go on Game Dev Map
Yep.
and look at all the companies all across the world, right? It's an international game, and even now more than ever, remote work is a real thing. So you may not even have to move,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So apply everywhere to anything that even remotely sparks your interest. Look and read through the job descriptions and see what you are really good at, and tailor your resume to fit those criteria, right? Those points, so that's all you're talking about on your interview, right? That matches directly to the problem that they're trying to solve. And don't try to fluff the things that you don't know anything about, right? Because they're going to sniff that out quickly.
Yep.
Um, and I think I've seen this come around in some of your streams and even on the Discord, is people that have been surprised with the pandemic and are looking for work, right?
Yeah.
That had a steady job and are looking for work, and it's an unfortunate thing, because nobody could have predicted this. And so, what I've learned, and this is kind of a recent lesson, is interviewing, just like a lot of these other skills, is a muscle that you have to keep working out. And
Yeah.
so just because you got a cush job at a place that you love does not mean that you stop interviewing, that you stop talking to people about what's going on, what are they looking for, what roles are available. Like, keep keep the hustle of looking for your next job as if it's still there while you're working.
Man,
Because
you are right.
you
That
know
that
it,
is
it
like it's even more important when you're in a job that you like, right?
yeah,
Because as
yeah,
soon as you now don't have it, you're not ready, right?
no,
And
at
that's,
all. Like,
oh
you
man,
don't
that's
have your
so good.
portfolio up to date.
Yeah.
All your assets are locked away in a vault. Like, you can never have access to them again, right? Like, proprietary stuff.
Yeah.
And again, you like, anytime that I've been looking for work and I was caught off guard, all my first interviews, first, second, third, go terror bad.
Yeah.
They just went way south, right? Like,
Yeah.
I thought I knew what I can talk about and how to sell myself, and it had atrophied, right? Like, I wasn't doing my interviewing curls, you know.
Right.
um, so that's what I would say to that, right? Always keep open to every opportunity. Keep your LinkedIn up to date. Put all your work out there where people can see it, and constantly get that feedback loop going, right? On Twitter, on Discord, on YouTube. It's a new game out there, right? Like get your stuff out there and get used to that criticism and then the trolls, and be able to respond to it and learn like what other people are looking for, because that's great fodder for interviewing, right? Like,
Yeah.
hey, I had a game, and B Gamer said he hated the control scheme, so I made these modifications, and it ended up being good because more downloads or whatever, or not, right? So I learned not to listen to that person because I didn't have data or something like that.
And one thing to add to that, because this is something I wish I had done more of throughout my career, is anything you're working on, keep screenshots, keep notes, like things that, like, be building your portfolio the whole time, whether it's just
Yes.
like a memoir of what you're doing or whatever. You're going to need it eventually. You're going to want it.
Yeah, I like what you said earlier. I love what you said earlier, is to keep a blog or some type of journal as you're going through these things, because it's much easier when you're going through it than to have to recall that months or years later, right? When you're on an interview and they're like, hey, what did you do in 2010 at this job for this project, right? It's super hard to recall that if you're not used to it, right?
Yep.
But if you keep a blog, then you can go consult that, right? I now have kind of like my game dev career notebook, right? And I can easily kind of flip through that to kind of touch myself up on all the pain and the glory that I've suffered that make for great stories when I'm coming in front of a new person that I may want to work with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, look at
Man,
that. Stream my projects when I was in school and a blog. Angry Spartan
nice.
knows what's up.
That's the way to do it.
Yep.
Yes. All right, man. I'm going to let you get out of here. I am super appreciative of you being here. One last question. If people would like to get in touch with you to ask questions, is there a good way for them to do that? Where would you prefer they contact you?
Yeah, so I think I had some questions about LinkedIn,
Mhm.
and what I answered to that is that, like, unfortunately, like, if I don't know you, I usually kind of keep that gated. But I invite everybody to hit me up on Twitter, at L Kingpin. I'll put it in the chat before I go.
Nice.
Twitter's the best. Twitter's the best because you get those notifications, and I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have about whatever. So I'll drop that into the chat before I go.
All right, man. Thank you very much. I'm going to jump over
Thank
and
you.
say my goodbyes. I appreciate you, and we will talk soon, man.
All right, man. Have a good one.